Egyptians might have reached Arizona by coming across the Atlantic, going up the Rio Grande River into southern Arizona.
What if one of the most famous natural landmarks on Earth is hiding something we were never meant to find? In 1909, a man named G.E. Kincaid claimed he uncovered a massive underground complex deep inside the Grand Canyon. What he described wasn't just strange, it challenged everything we think we know about ancient history.
Grand Canyon, there's been these crazy stories of people finding these these caverns with Egyptian artwork and hieroglyphics and artifacts that have been removed from there.
His story appeared on newspaper front pages and then quietly disappeared. Officials say it was never real. Others say that's exactly the point. Today, we're breaking down what G.E. Kincaid said he discovered at the Grand Canyon, and why it still makes people uneasy. Once inside, Kincaid switched on his flashlight. Symbols covered the walls, but they were not English and did not resemble Native American markings. They appeared to be ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. As he raised the light, he saw the tunnel stretching deep into the rock. He didn't yet realize how large this discovery would become. When Kincaid tied his small wooden boat to examine the strange rock formations, he had expected signs of mineral veins. He never imagined finding carved symbols. After noticing clear chisel marks along the walls, he drew his pistol, turned on a second light, and cautiously moved farther into the darkness. He recorded everything in careful detail. The main passageway is about 12 feet wide, narrowing to 9 feet toward the far end. About 57 feet from the entrance, side passages branch off to the left and right. Along these passages are rooms roughly the size of modern living rooms, though some measure 30 by 40 feet. The rooms are entered through oval-shaped doorways and ventilated by round air shafts cut through the walls. The walls measure about 3 feet 6 inches thick. The passages are cut straight, with the precision of an engineer. Many ceilings slope inward toward a center point. Near the entrance, the side passages run at sharp angles from the main corridor, but farther back they gradually meet it at right angles. Kincaid soon understood that he was standing inside a massive underground complex. Based on its size, he estimated it could have housed as many as 50,000 people. Some rooms contained storage areas filled with shelves of glazed pottery, many still holding seeds. He identified cooking spaces, a large dining hall, and numerous chambers filled with ancient objects. He carefully wrapped several small metal and ceramic items to study later. One large room appeared to be a metalworking area, showing signs of advanced techniques that were not expected to exist in this region. Tools of many kinds made of copper are found here. These people clearly knew how to harden the metal, a process chemists have attempted to reproduce for centuries. Kincaid spent hours exploring the underground city, still unsure when it was built, who created it, or what its purpose was. Eventually, he entered another large chamber that served as a crypt. Inside were shelves stacked with mummies, arranged in rows, dozens in total. At that moment, Kincaid realized he could not explore this place alone. He sent several artifacts and his written observations to the Smithsonian Institution and requested funding and support, believing this to be the most important archaeological discovery of his life. The Smithsonian agreed to assist. Weeks later, Professor S.A. Jordan arrived with a team of around 40 scientists, researchers, and laborers. With better lighting and more workers, they quickly noticed that the tunnel system followed a deliberate layout. It was balanced and organized, with all passages leading toward a central chamber. Inside that chamber stood a large statue that Kincaid believed resembled Buddha. More than 100 feet from the entrance is a cross hall extending several hundred feet. Within it stands an idol representing the people's god, seated cross-legged and holding a lotus or lily in each hand. The facial features appear oriental. While the figure closely resembles Buddha, the scientists cannot identify the exact belief system. Based on the findings so far, the worship may most closely resemble that of ancient Tibet. After this discovery, the team began referring to the site as the citadel. The crypt was among the largest rooms uncovered. With improved lighting, Kincaid was able to give a full description. The wall slopes backward at roughly a 35-degree angle. Along it are stacked tiers of mummies, each placed on its own shelf. At the head of each body sits a small bench holding copper cups and fragments of broken swords. Some bodies are coated in clay, and all are wrapped in a fabric made from bark. The containers on the lower tiers are simple, while those higher up show more refined designs suggesting a later stage of development. All mummies examined so far are male. No women or children are present. This suggests the area may have served as barracks for warriors. Kincaid, Jordan, and the Smithsonian team explored the entire underground system. It became clear that this was not a remote temple used by a small group. It was a large city, occupied by thousands of people over hundreds, possibly thousands of years. The biggest mystery remained unanswered. Who were these people? By the end of the expedition, the team had documented hundreds of rooms, including living quarters, barracks, storage areas, metal workshops, and religious chambers. Although many rooms were empty, thousands of objects were recovered. They found swords and shields made of copper, bronze, and an unfamiliar gray metal believed to be platinum. Pottery urns, cooking tools, yellow stones known as cat's eyes. Hieroglyphics appear on urns, walls above doorways, and stone tablets found near the central image. The Smithsonian hopes to one day decode them. The carvings likely relate to religious beliefs. Despite the volume of evidence, the team could not identify the builders of the citadel. Some statues seemed Tibetan, but not exactly. The writing resembled Egyptian script, yet it did not fully match. Experts on site could not translate the text or identify the culture. Still, two conclusions were widely accepted. First, the civilization responsible for the citadel was highly advanced, far beyond the known native cultures of the region. They worked bronze long before the accepted Bronze Age and practiced agriculture and organized labor while other societies were still relying on hunting and gathering. These findings conflicted directly with established archaeological timelines. A civilization like this was not supposed to exist. Second, the builders did not originate locally. The evidence suggested they arrived from another part of the world. Kincaid and Professor Jordan shipped crates of artifacts and extensive notes to the Smithsonian, along with their theory that an advanced civilization lived in the Grand Canyon thousands of years before Native Americans reached North America. They believed these people were skilled, educated, technologically advanced, and spiritually complex, with possible roots in Egypt or Asia. Kincaid requested additional funding and a larger team to continue exploring the canyon for more evidence. The request was denied. After that, G.E. Kincaid and Professor S.A. Jordan were never heard from again. In northern Arizona sits one of the most famous natural landmarks in the world, the Grand Canyon. Formed over millions of years by the Colorado River, it is more than a scenic view or a popular tourist destination. For the people who have lived near it for generations, the Grand Canyon holds deep cultural and spiritual meaning. Tribes such as the Hopi, Navajo, Zuni, Apache, and others have lived in and around the canyon for thousands of years, and many still live there today. According to Hopi tradition, the story of humanity began at the Grand Canyon. Their beliefs say that long ago, the first people entered this world from that place. Some versions of the story describe a reptilian race that appeared in ancient times. Yes, reptilian beings. At some point, you start to notice how often lizard-like beings appear in stories like these. If you're not convinced yet, don't worry. They show up again and again. Hopi accounts say these reptilian beings came out of the Grand Canyon and later changed form, becoming human. They were described as shapeshifters, able to move between appearances. Similar stories exist among other Pueblo groups, including the Zuni and the Acoma. Their traditions also speak of beings who lived there before modern tribes settled the land. In many of those stories, the beings are described as reptilian. Other legends take a different turn. Some say a race of giants once lived there. There are even claims that giant skeletons have been found across the western United States, though people say the evidence was later hidden. Hidden by who? According to these claims, the Smithsonian. One thing that becomes clear after studying stories like this is that myths often contain some level of truth. We already know that people reached North America long before Columbus. The Vikings are known to have explored and settled parts of Newfoundland roughly 500 years earlier than the so-called discovery of the New World. There is also growing discussion around ancient Chinese explorers possibly reaching North and South America even before the Vikings. But landing on a coast is one thing. Reaching the Grand Canyon is something else entirely. How would ancient people even get there? And if they did, how could they possibly have the tools needed to remove millions of tons of rock to create an underground city? The answer may not be as new as it sounds. Some say it has been known for a very long time. Crossing oceans thousands of years ago was extremely difficult, though not impossible. Some people managed it, but reaching the Grand Canyon and building within it would have required far more advanced tools and planning. The Hopi also tell a story about beings known as the Ant People. These were described as small humanoid figures with pale skin and large eyes, resembling insects. According to Hopi traditions, a series of worldwide disasters hit Earth thousands of years ago, during what is now called the Younger Dryas period. During this time, the Hopi people were nearly wiped out. At their lowest point, a sky god appeared, arriving in what they described as a moving star. This being led the Hopi to the Ant People, who took them into underground caves to protect them from destruction. Once the danger passed, the sky god returned to the moving star and vanished into the sky. Another Hopi legend describes beings known as the Havamusas. These entities looked human, but had golden-colored skin and unusually large eyes. They lived underground in a vast city and traded with distant groups. The Hopi said these beings carried weapons described as silver tubes that released lightning and could kill instantly. Today, some people compare these descriptions to advanced energy-based weapons. The stories also say the Havamusas traveled through the air using silver craft. These flying machines made a humming sound, moved at high speed, and could maneuver smoothly, much like a bird in flight. Flood legends exist in cultures all over the world. These stories describe a massive global event where ice rapidly melted, sea levels rose by hundreds of feet, and entire cities, or even continents, were lost. Atlantis is often linked to these accounts. Many of these flood legends also say that after the waters went down, advanced beings descended from the sky. These figures helped humans rebuild civilization by restoring lost knowledge, including writing, astronomy, and agriculture. This raises a question: could there be an underground city hidden within the Grand Canyon tied to that forgotten era? And if so, why would anyone want it concealed? The entire story traces back to two front-page articles published in the Phoenix Gazette in 1909. In later years, most researchers concluded the articles were made up to draw attention, what we would now call early clickbait. Some things never change. That explanation has become the official stance. The Smithsonian has stated it has never been involved in anything like this, either in the Grand Canyon or anywhere else. There is no record of anyone named G.E. Kincaid ever working for the institution. Because of this, the story is commonly dismissed as a hoax. Still, many people reject that conclusion and believe the account is real, arguing that the truth has been deliberately hidden. Officially, Kincaid's cave does not exist, and there is no reason to look for it. Even Kincaid himself warned people to stay away from the location. He said the cavern was almost impossible to reach. The entrance was reportedly 1,486 feet down a sheer canyon wall. The area was on government-controlled land, and anyone attempting to access it would face trespassing charges. He explained that scientists wanted to work without interruptions and without artifacts being removed. Any attempt to visit, he claimed, would be pointless, since visitors would be turned away. It's clear Kincaid wanted to discourage exploration. Yet even after more than 100 years, people continue to try. Some believe they have already located the site. Jerry Wills and his wife Kathy spent many years researching the Kincaid Cave story. Their approach was to find the original base camp used by the early explorers, believing it would point them toward the cave. After years of research and fieldwork in the area Kincaid described, they located a site scattered with artifacts from that time period. Just below that spot on the canyon wall, they believe, lies the entrance to the underground city. Exploring this area remains extremely challenging. The entire region where the cave is believed to be located is restricted and closed to the public by the federal government. You probably saw that coming. Around 1,000 caves have been discovered in the Grand Canyon, many of them man-made. Yet only about 30 have been mapped, and many of those are sealed off. There are plenty of people willing to accept the risk. Many would gladly sign a waiver, stating the government is not responsible if something goes wrong. In fact, people have tried. The government still refuses, claiming the area is too dangerous. How thoughtful. Then why is it legal to skydive, ride roller coasters, or drive a car? Plenty of activities carry risks, yet people are allowed to decide for themselves. Some caves in the Grand Canyon have been sealed with steel gates. Officials say this is done to protect bat populations. That's the explanation. Still, many people are willing to risk fines or jail time to search for the lost city. Anyone who tries should expect pushback. When Jerry and Kathy's team attempted to explore the area, an unmarked plane suddenly appeared. Despite the region being a no-fly zone, and despite aircraft being prohibited from flying below the rim, they were clearly being watched. A plane showed up. Jerry Wills believes it was a warning. The team was forced to stop their expedition. Exploring the cave from above proved nearly impossible. So what about approaching it from below, the way G.E. Kincaid reportedly did? Another group tried that route. As they moved toward the location, a black helicopter appeared. Not a tourist helicopter, not a civilian one, but an Apache combat helicopter. When this team searched the area above the site, looking for the ventilation shafts Kincaid mentioned and possibly a way down, they found cement blocks placed in remote locations. Some of these blocks formed platforms near the canyon rim, complete with hardware and anchors suitable for mountaineering. Authorities later claimed these structures were installed to prevent rock falls. Within this restricted zone, rock formations carry unusual names. There is Isis Temple, Tower of Set, Horus, the Copts Pyramid, and Ra. There is also Manu Temple, Buddha Temple, Krishna Temple, and Shiva Temple, along with many others. These names reference ancient Egyptian and Hindu cultures, cultures that share myths about gods aiding humanity after a great flood. The official explanation is that these names are coincidental. I'm not convinced. Are you? David Hatcher Childress, a French author who has published around 200 books, frequently writes about ancient mysteries. He believes the U.S. government actively suppresses archaeological discoveries. He says that while Raiders of the Lost Ark is fiction, the final warehouse scene is close to reality. According to him, the Smithsonian and other federal agencies are hiding some of the most important finds in American history. He claims the suppression began in 1881 with geologist John Wesley Powell, who appointed Cyrus Thomas as director of the Eastern Mound Division of the Smithsonian's Bureau of Ethnology. Thomas believed there was a race of mound builders who existed before and were separate from Native American tribes. This idea falls under diffusionism, which argues that culture and civilization spread widely across regions, even across oceans. The Smithsonian promoted the opposite view: isolationism. This approach claimed that civilizations developed independently with little contact between them, especially when separated by water. It argued that the large, advanced populations of the Ohio and Mississippi valleys were rare and had no connection to cultures like the Aztecs, Toltecs, or Maya. But the Mississippi River runs from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico. Saying these cultures had no contact is like claiming the Black Sea had no connection to the Mediterranean. That makes no sense. Excavations of ancient mounds in the American Midwest reveal a complex society, with cities larger than those in Europe at the same time. These sites also include burials of extremely tall individuals, sometimes measuring 7 or 8 feet in height. When the Spiro Mounds were excavated in the 1930s, skeletons between 7 and 8 feet tall were reportedly uncovered. At that time, the average male height was about 5'6". Those remains later disappeared. In 1892, stone coffins were discovered in Alabama by Frank Burns during a geological survey. Each coffin measured around 7.5 feet long and had been hollowed out using fire and metal tools. The findings were sent to the Smithsonian. In 1984, researcher Frederick J. Pohl uncovered the original report and contacted the institution. The Smithsonian replied that it could not locate the specimens, despite records confirming they had been received. How do you lose massive stone coffins weighing several tons? I don't know, but never underestimate government incompetence. 8 years later, the Smithsonian claimed the coffins had been found but were stored in a warehouse contaminated with asbestos, making it inaccessible. During World War II, a construction crew building an airship in Alaska uncovered a mound containing enormous human remains, skeletons 2 to 3 times the size of modern humans. Multiple sources confirmed the report. The Smithsonian collected the remains, and that was the last anyone heard of them. Similar stories stretch from Alaska to Mexico City. A major discovery is made, the Smithsonian steps in, and the evidence vanishes. The phrase "skeletons in the closet" refers to hidden secrets that could cause embarrassment or trouble if revealed. In the Smithsonian's case, that phrase might be literal. According to this view, the government possesses physical evidence that an advanced race existed in North America long before native tribes, evidence it does not want made public. Mainstream science rejects this idea, but the Hopi and other Grand Canyon tribes maintain these beliefs. The Hopi say that when the first people emerged from the Grand Canyon, they sent a messenger to the Temple of the Sun to ask for a blessing of peace. That messenger never returned. Even today, at sunset, Hopi elders can be seen standing on rooftops, looking toward the setting sun, waiting for the messenger to come back. When he does, they believe the land will be returned to the first people. That is a hopeful belief. The United States spent 200 years taking land from those first people. If you found this interesting, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe this story, or do you think it's all been explained away? If you enjoy videos like this, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching.